Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
An O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card is the perfect gift for that hard-to-buy-for person. Give the gift of convenience from O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite. I am your host, Jim Chapman, and we are back for the 22nd episode of the Diddy Saga series. And to be honest, I didn't plan on dropping this today. I was only going to drop one episode in between Christmas and New Year's, but so much has happened in Diddy's life that I decided to go ahead and drop an extra episode this week. So we got 3 new lawsuits that have come out, and all 3 are massively different in circumstances. So we're going to jump right into it. And look, I've already posted some episodes that cover the white parties and the role that they have played in all this Diddy drama. But what about those black parties? Well, you're going to get an inside seat on those today if you're not familiar, because a lawsuit was filed on December 20th in the Southern District of New York, but not by Tony Busby's firm. This lawsuit was filed by Ariel Mitchell Kidd on behalf of a client by the name of LaTroya Grayson after she won a contest to attend a black party from a radio station. Now, Ariel Mitchell Kidd is no stranger to Diddy. The Miami-based lawyer has sued Sean Combs several times in the past and is a bang-up lawyer in her own right. So I got the lawsuit in front of me, and this one is pretty descriptive. As a matter of fact, this is the first lawsuit that I have covered so far that actually has a trigger warning at the front of the document. It actually reads, "Trigger warning, this document contains graphic information." So let's get right into it. And as I said, the person suing Sean Combs, they're actually named in this case. It's not a Jane Doe, and her name is LaTroya Grayson. And she is not just suing Sean Combs. She's also suing Atlantic Records, a guy by the name of Mike Savis, Delta Airlines, the Roger Smith Hotel, and the radio station, which is KK Jams, JAMZ, 105.3 FM. She also has listed John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10. And then it goes into a little synopsis of each person she is suing. And of course, we all know about Sean Combs. I won't go into that. Atlantic Records, it goes into what they are. We all kind of know what Atlantic Records is. I won't go into that. But it does say that Atlantic Records was responsible for and facilitated the event that lured the plaintiff to defendant Combs in New York, where she was injured. Then it goes into defendant Mike Savas, and it says defendant Savas, upon information and belief, is a citizen that resides in the state of New York. Defendant Savas, upon information and belief, and confirmed by defendant Savas' LinkedIn page, was an employee of defendant Atlantic at all relevant times. So that's why they're suing him. It goes into Delta Airlines, and it says defendant Delta, in their capacity as a common carrier, was responsible for transporting and arranging delivery of the plaintiff and possibly all contest winners to defendants, which ultimately led to plaintiff's injuries. And this is where lawsuits get very aggravating to me. And if you are a person who's actually ever had to hire an attorney for anything, this is why attorneys are so expensive. This is why lawsuits are so ridiculous. I mean, come on. Delta Airlines flew you to where you went. They didn't ask you where exactly you were going, I'm sure. And even if they did, they didn't know what was going to occur while you were there. Yet her lawyers decide it's a good idea to sue those people. Stupid. My opinion. Just my opinion. And she's suing the radio station that was responsible for and facilitating the event that enticed the plaintiff to New York, where she was injured. I told you she was suing the Roger Smith Hotel, and of course that is where the accommodations for the plaintiff and all contest winners were at. So that's why she's suing them, and she's suing John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10. And when we talk about John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, we're talking about people that worked for these entities that she's suing. And then it goes into a little bit about the plaintiff, LaTroya Grayson. She's an individual who was a citizen of the United States and lives in Oklahoma. Says she was 23 years old at the time this occurred. She had never traveled to New York City prior to the events described, and would not have traveled to New York City without being enticed by the scheme of the defendants. Plaintiff was a guest of her half-sibling who won the contest of defendant K-Jam's radio station and agreed to accompany her sibling on what she believed to be a legitimate all-expense-paid trip to a Diddy white party in New York in 2006, and her life has been detrimentally impacted ever since. And then it gets into the factual allegations. It says the radio contest in late 2006, defendant K-Jams began promoting a contest on its radio station, 105.3 Jams, in Oklahoma, sponsored by defendant Combs, BBE, Atlantic, and Delta, offering the winner a prize of an all-expense-paid vacation for two to New York City to attend a Diddy white party. At this point, defendant Combs' white parties were legendary and ongoing, as they had begun in 1998 and were in full swing by 2006. Eagerly, the plaintiff and her siblings tried to win the K-Jams radio contest. Eventually, the plaintiff's sibling was able to win that contest. The contest included a round-trip airfare for the winner and a guest, one hotel room in New York, and 2 tickets to attend Diddy's white party in New York. Upon information and belief, this was not a traditional white party thrown by defendant Combs, as those typically occurred during Labor Day, but a separate promotional party. Initially, the party was scheduled for 2006, October 6, but was then rescheduled without warning or explanation. The plaintiff received an initial letter from Atlantic providing instructions on how to attend the party and the details of the party, dated for the original date of the white party. The party was then rescheduled for October 16th of 2006, and the plaintiff was provided a plane ticket issued by Delta for departure on October 16th of 2006 and returning the next day, October 17th. In addition to the date of the party being rescheduled, the theme of the party was also changed from a white party to a black party. Due to this change of required colored attire to attend the party, the plaintiff was forced, and they use the term forced in this lawsuit, to purchase a new outfit that was within the new theme and dress requirements for admittance. Plaintiff and her siblings had never been to New York City and were very excited about their trip and their attendance at a celebrity party hosted by defendant Combs. Plaintiff and her siblings rented a limousine to transport them from the airport to the hotel in an effort to make the most of their free trip. Upon arrival in New York City, plaintiff checked into the prearranged hotel, the Roger Smith Hotel. Plaintiff was required to pay a cash deposit to the hotel, which was provided and paid by Atlantic. Plaintiff changed into her requisite black outfit and met a transportation van arranged by Atlantic employee Mike Savas downstairs at the hotel. Along with the plaintiff in the transportation van arranged by Atlantic employee Mike Savas were several other contest winners who won the same contest in their home cities and were subsequently flown to New York as radio contest winners for this Diddy Black Party. Upon arrival at the location where the Black Party was thrown, plaintiff and the other contest winners were forced to wait in line for entrance into the party. Plaintiff and other contest winners were approved for entry by security based on their appearance and their attire. Individuals were not let into the party based on their position in line, but based on their attractiveness and attire. After waiting in line for approximately 45 minutes, the plaintiff finally gained entry into the party. Even though the plaintiff was granted entry, her sibling was not, and the plaintiff was separated from her sibling before realizing her sibling had not also granted entry into the party. Plaintiff did not see, nor does she remember seeing her sibling at the party during the plaintiff's time inside the party. While inside the party, plaintiff took pictures with some of the celebrities in attendance, including rappers Babs from Making the Band and Bone Crusher. At one point, plaintiff met an individual who perpetrated to be defendant Combs' assistant, and he befriended the plaintiff, who was alone. While at the party, there was no bar for partygoers to get drink. Instead, pre-made drinks were being circulated throughout the party by waitresses, and that's a common theme, as we all know. In this lawsuit, she shows a bunch of pictures of her with these people that she's talking about. After less than 2 pre-made drinks provided by the waitress, the plaintiff began to feel sick and tried to go to the bathroom. The next memory the plaintiff has is awaking at St. Vincent's Medical Center in New York. Wow. Plaintiff has no memory and no recollection of how she ended up at the hospital. When plaintiff regained consciousness at the hospital, she noticed her shirt was ripped. Her underwear was missing. She was not wearing any shoes, and the money she had traveled with was stolen. The only money the plaintiff had remaining was a $20 bill. The plaintiff was admitted to St. Vincent's Hospital, treated, and released. Upon her release from the hospital, plaintiff, a tourist, had no way of knowing how to return to her hotel, as smartphones were not commonplace at this time. The plaintiff remained in the waiting area of the lobby of the hospital after her release for so long she was eventually forced out by hospital security. The plaintiff was able to find a book of matches in her purse bearing the name of the hotel she was domiciled. Plaintiff then hailed a taxi, returned to the hotel using the $20 bill that she left in her purse. When plaintiff returned to her hotel, she called a friend and explained she was not sure what happened to her, but plaintiff believes she was drugged, assaulted, robbed, with no memory of how she arrived at the hospital, as her last memory was being at Diddy's Black Party. Plaintiff had virtually no time to process or further determine what had happened to her, as her flight back to Oklahoma left at 3:50 p.m. on October 17th, less than 24 hours after the plaintiff arrived in New York. The day after the plaintiff returned home from New York, she received a call from a New York area code with an anonymous female caller. The anonymous female caller asked to speak to the plaintiff. The anonymous female caller then threatened the plaintiff, telling her that any attempt to pursue anything about the plaintiff's assault would be futile because defendant Combs was a celebrity and that the plaintiff would just be wasting her time. Plaintiff was confused and scared as she did not know what happened to her. Plaintiff hearing from this anonymous female caller was jarring and traumatizing, as the plaintiff learned that not only was she assaulted, leading to her waking up at the hospital, but that defendant Combs was involved and the plaintiff would be unable to seek justice for her injuries because Combs' celebrity status. When the plaintiff tried to ask the caller her name and how she obtained the plaintiff's phone number, the female caller hung up. When the plaintiff tried to call the number back, it was disconnected. For approximately a week after the plaintiff returned home, she felt constant pain in the inside and outside of her vagina. Pain she believed was from rough intercourse. However, the plaintiff has no memory of engaging in intercourse with anyone. The plaintiff did not seek medical treatment or otherwise report her assault to law enforcement because she was scared and confused. First, because she did not know exactly what happened to her. Second, because of the threat she received from the female caller of Combs' involvement and it being a waste of time due to his celebrity status. Plaintiff became severely depressed and felt shame despite not fully remembering what happened to her. She felt betrayed by defendants, specifically Defendant Combs, Atlantic, and K-Jams, because she believed attending the party thrown by Combs would be a safe environment. Plaintiff was unable to maintain employment or otherwise be a productive member of society for at least a year after her assault and battery in New York City. Plaintiff has been reminded of her assault by Defendant Combs as he is an inescapable presence in music, television, and film. She also experiences intimacy issues, struggling to maintain emotional and romantic relationships. Defendant Combs has altered the trajectory of her life. To this day, the plaintiff experienced bouts of depression, and it goes into all the things that you would experience if you went through that sort of thing. So that's her lawsuit against many people, including Defendant Combs. And as I told you, another lawsuit in addition to that came out, and it actually came out that very same day, December 20th. And this one was from attorney Antigone Curis, who is a New York City attorney, and she filed on behalf of a Jane Doe. And here's what the alleged factual allegations are in that suit. And it's kind of short, but informative. And it says plaintiff Jane Doe is a female who resides in Louisiana, which is my home state. And the factual allegations are as follows. The plaintiff and a female friend visited New York City in December of 1991 to spend Christmas with two of her friends who lived in the city. After the holiday, the plaintiff stayed in the city to attend an event she was invited to by another acquaintance of hers, a rapper who was prominent in the industry at that time. The event was a charity basketball game occurring at City College in New York. This was on December 28th of 1991. Plaintiff and her female friend were dropped off at the event early so that they could get in to see the rapper who invited her. Plaintiff recalls crowds outside being very large and growing unruly, but once she spoke to security, she and her friend were let in ahead of the crowd. Once inside, the plaintiff watched security attempt to contact her rapper friend via the radio, but was unable to. Plaintiff recalled telling her to ask for his co-sponsor of the event if no one could find him when she got there. The co-sponsor was an up-and-coming producer by the name of Puffy, Sean Combs. The plaintiff asked to be directed to Puffy. Despite not knowing who that was, she and her friend were taken to an office in the back of a locker room where Combs had a makeshift dressing room set up. He introduced himself and his bodyguard, who then stood outside the door while they talked. Plaintiff's friend told Combs how excited she was to be there and how much she wanted to meet some of the celebrities there. After mentioning her favorite rapper, Combs said that he could take her to see him, and the plaintiff should stay and keep waiting for Myers. And Myers must have been the rapper. Plaintiff did so, but Myers did not arrive. Eventually, Combs returned with a plastic cup full of what he perpetrated to be Coca-Cola. The plaintiff drank some of it, but did not finish it. She just didn't like the taste. She began to feel woozy and attempted to leave to find her rapper friend on her own, but Combs blocked her exit. He told her she needed to stay, and this is when she noticed he was touching himself in a suggestive manner. He began to fondle the plaintiff and overpowered her when she struggled. Combs removed her underwear and began molesting her before climbing on top of her and penetrating her. Shortly after the assault began, Combs was called to the door by the bodyguard who was standing watch on the other side of it. Combs came back and he told the plaintiff he had to go deal with something. The plaintiff told Combs what he did was not right and she needed to tell her rapper friend because she was there to see him and did not want him to think she had sex with Combs willingly. Combs told her that she should not do that because, quote unquote, people can come up missing and that he would never know. Plaintiff waited in the room for a short period to gather herself and make sure Combs was not returning. Then she took the opportunity to leave. The scene outside was chaotic. There were people packed into the building and running in every direction. Plaintiff spent about half an hour looking for a friend before finding the exit. Plaintiff eventually found her friend and the two of them made it to a phone to call for a ride home. And that is her lawsuit. They came out the same day, the very same day. Finally, another lawsuit. This one just filed on the 26th of December in a Los Angeles court. In this one, I couldn't get my hands on the actual suit. So I'm going to reference an article, and it reads as follows. Headline says, Sean Diddy Combs accused of forcing ex-assistant to clean up after Wild King Night parties. Attorneys for Philip Hines lay out list of claims related to the alleged sex parties in lawsuit filed in Los Angeles, and it goes into the article. The detained rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs, already facing more than 30 civil complaints alongside federal racketeering conspiracy charges, has been hit with a claim from a former personal lackey who claims he was forced to clean up after Combs' Wild King Night parties were finished. Attorneys for Philip Hines claim in a lawsuit filed in Los Angeles on Monday that between December of 2019 to December of 2021, Combs pressured Hines into having sex with a woman and orchestrated parties where he engaged in sex, drugs, and alcohol. Hines, who says he was given the title of senior executive assistant, was allegedly asked to set up for Combs' so-called Wild Kings Nights, according to the claim, which was obtained by Variety. He also claims that Combs knowingly exposed a celebrity guest to COVID-19 at his 51st birthday party and details a disturbing incident where Combs pressured him to engage in sex with a female guest. There are also allegations he witnessed Combs violently kicking a guest in Miami. Hines' duties, he claimed, include arranging for drugs, alcohol, and sex-related paraphernalia to be brought in and clean up after the parties concluded, including removing drug evidence and bodily stains from the rooms. Gross. Deleting any compromising videos from Combs' devices and ensuring that no one spoke about the nights. Hines claims that he was asked on multiple occasions to set up rooms for Combs' parties, providing red lights, ice buckets, alcohol, marijuana joints, honey packs for male libido, baby oil, Astroglide, towels, illegal drugs, and power banger sex machine. Hines also alleged that Combs would test his loyalty, including asking him to return to work to find the TV remote, and that his party cleanup duties were assigned to avoid additional hotel cleaning fees. Combs, who was arrested in September on racketeering and sex trafficking, is currently being detained at the MDC in Brooklyn, New York, after being denied bail on 3 separate occasions. At his most recent bail hearing in November, the trial judge cited evidence showing Combs to be a serious risk of witness tampering and proof he has tried to hide prohibited communications with third parties while incarcerated for the bail denial. In a statement, Combs' representative said no matter how many lawsuits are filed, it won't change the fact that Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted or sex trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. Okay. We live in a world where anyone can file a lawsuit for any reason. Fortunately, a fair and impartial judicial process exists to find the truth, and Mr. Combs is confident he will prevail in court. And that is the latest on that one. And just another quick thing that had came out from the Associated Press over the weekend that I wanted to cover was in response to what I've told you about, that Jay-Z is trying to force the Jane Doe that is suing JD and Sean Combs for one specific rape that is alleged. He's been trying to get her name out there, saying, hey, if she's going to sue me, she needs to sue me under her real name. And a judge has ruled on that. I'm going to read this quick article. An Alabama woman who says she was raped by Jay-Z and Sean Combs when she was 13 can proceed anonymously for now in her lawsuit against the rap mogul. In a written order on Thursday, Judge Torres also chastised the lawyer representing Jay-Z for what she described as his combative motions and inflammatory language against the plaintiff's lawyer, calling them inappropriate. The Manhattan jurist said the woman can proceed anonymously at this early stage of litigation, but she may be required to reveal her identity at a later date if the case proceeds. That would allow the defense lawyers to collect facts necessary to prepare for trial. Torres also cited substantial interest from the public. Combs remains jailed in New York, and you know all that, waiting on a trial for federal sex trafficking charges. And then it goes into the actual lawsuit the 13-year-old has against Jay-Z and Diddy. I won't go into that because we've talked about that several times. But I will say that Torres wrote in her order Thursday that Spiro, who has been on the case less than 3 weeks, has submitted a litany of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of the plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported urgency of this case. Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast track the judicial process nearly because counsel demands it. How about that? Judge basically saying we ain't playing and we don't care how high powered you are as a lawyer or whose lawyer you are. You're going to follow the fucking judicial process. Jay-Z, Sean Carter. So there you have it. Didn't plan on bringing you this episode today, but I knew you'd want to hear it. And it's a lot of kind of breaking information on the Diddy Saga, and you keep loving it and I'll keep bringing it. And before we get out of here today, I told y'all 2025 was going to be off the chain, right? Well, I'm going to give you a look real quick into what we have coming up. Now, Thursday, January 2nd, just a couple of days from now, I'm releasing volume 3 of the Murdaugh Prison phone call series. I get a ton of messages. Y'all are loving that series. So I'm going to drop volume 3, and I'll drop those every now and then, but it's a really good one. I've got probably 10 volumes of that. So I'll be dropping that 3rd volume on Thursday. Then Tuesday, January 7th, I'm dropping an exposed original called The Other Wife. And all I'm going to tell you in advance is this is a big TikTok thing going around right now, but a website called The Other Wife and the Woman is suing someone who was being cheated on by her husband with an individual that was a part of that website. That's all I'm going to give you for now. But the website is a website that is set up to provide kind of counsel and advice, and it's a community where women who are in relationships with married men can support each other. So take from that what you will, but you're going to learn all about that on Tuesday. Wednesday, January 8th, Bad Teachers is back, and we're talking about Haley Clifton Carmack. You're not going to believe this story. And on Thursday, January 9th, another Murdaugh. We're going back to the trial with Murdaugh episode 16. And we're going to bring you the testimony of the attorney for the Beach family, of course. Very tragic victim of the boat accident at the hands of Paul Murdaugh. So we'll be bringing you that on Thursday, January 9th. And one more I'm going to give you on Tuesday, January 14th. We start our first episode in our Bad Boys series, and it's called War Machine. Horrible story. Something I'm hoping when people hear it, if they're involved in a domestic violence situation, it will be the courage they need to get out. You got to hear this story. That comes to you Tuesday, January 14th. If you're not a Patreon member and you're listening to this, Patreon members got this yesterday on Monday. But if you're not, that means you're listening to this on New Year's Eve. Can y'all believe it is 2025 tomorrow? So I got 2 things to say. Number one, the year freaking flew by so fast. And thank you so much for making it a great 2024 for Exposed, Scandalous Files of the Elite, and myself. Look, if you're going out tonight partying, have a great time, but be safe. Don't accept drinks from anybody else. If anything you've learned off of Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite since I've been doing this is don't take a fucking drink from nobody. Don't leave your drink anywhere. If you're sitting somewhere at a bar, put your hand over the drink when you're not drinking it. But be safe out there. Don't drink and drive. Look, so many options. You got Uber out there. Call an Uber. Have a great time tonight if you're going out with family and friends. And thank you so much for listening, supporting Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite. If you want to check us out on Patreon, we drop all kinds of stuff there. Very active page, patreon.com/exposed podcast files. Please rate and review if you like the podcast. And until next time, for Exposed Scandalous Files of the Elite, I'm your host, Jim Chapman. Much love.